Have you ever considered why it is that some people can readily command respect when others struggle their entire life to be taken seriously? The truth, which is really surprising, is that it has nothing to do with your riches, your appearance, or even your level of education. The way you act, the things you do, and the manner in which you conduct yourself are all factors that determine whether or not you are respected. Despite this fact, the majority of people are unwittingly compromising the respect that they receive from others on a daily basis. In this video, we are going to disclose 7 habits that are quietly undermining your authority and dignity. Habits that are turning adoration into indifference, trust into doubt, and influence into irrelevance. If you can identify even one of these habits in your own behavior, then now is the moment to put an end to it. This is because every second that you postpone doing so is a second that you are wasting, and you are also losing the respect that you deserve. Please remain with me, because by the time this video is over, you will not only be able to identify which habits are causing your respect to be diminished, but you will also be able to understand how to rid yourself of these habits and begin immediately to assume command of the authority and dignity that you were always intended to possess. Number 1. Talking too much and saying too little. We possess a single mouth but 2 ears, which is a sign that we should listen twice as much as we speak, said Epictetus. Even so, there are a great number of people who act in the other manner. They are of the opinion that the best way to earn respect is to be the loudest person in the room, filling any silence with an endless stream of conversation. However, in actuality, the more you talk without providing any evidence, the less impact your comments will have. An individual who talks excessively is insecure. They are in dire need of approval, which they seek through the production of noise. However, someone who speaks less frequently and only when it is absolutely required fosters a sense of authority around them. The reason that their words sting more is that they are not spoken very often. Consider the people who are leaders, generals, and philosophers. When they spoke, others listened to what they had to say because their quiet increased the value of their words. The first step in demonstrating respect is to exercise restraint. When a man is not able to control his tongue, he is similar to a soldier who is unable to control his weapon. He is hazardous, sloppy, and inefficient. When choosing vocabulary, one should be accurate, measured, and intentional. However, when they are hurled without any care, they lose all of their sharpness. Seneca said, "Consider weight, not quantity, when composing speech." To put it another way, the significance of your words is determined not by the amount you say, but by the amount of value your words contain. You do not allow others the opportunity to contemplate, process, or respect what you have stated when you speak without taking any pauses. On the other hand, silence compels people to pay attention to what is happening. When you don't say anything, other people become curious and draw closer, anticipating the moment when you decide to break the silence. That is the reason why the individuals who are most well regarded rarely waste their breath. They let quiet do half of the talking for them. Take Marcus Aurelius, for example. Despite the fact that he was the most powerful man in the world as emperor, he was often reminding himself to listen more and talk less. In his meditations, he frequently made reference to the significance of comprehending something before reacting to it, as well as the importance of choose knowledge over noise. What justification can we possibly have for not exercising restraint when the Emperor of Rome recognized its value? Being overly talkative not only diminishes your presence, but it also makes you more vulnerable. The more you talk, the easier it is for other people to notice your weaknesses, the things that you are insecure about, and any inconsistencies in your behavior. However, you safeguard your dignity when you refrain from saying all that is on your mind. People will start to perceive you as someone who is contemplative, in control, and reasonable. These are characteristics that will invariably get respect. The Stoics were aware of the fact that speech was not only a means of communication, but also a reflection of the intellect. If you are unable to express yourself in a coherent manner, it is likely that your thoughts are racing and that you are unable to focus. You possess a disciplined mind if your statements are quiet, measured, and to the point. You are not only gaining the respect of others by learning to speak less and listen more, but you are also contributing to the development of your own character. Therefore, the next time you feel the need to fill the space, remember that stillness can be your friend, not your foe. It is your most valuable asset. The worth of each successive word that you utter increases as you save more words. And that is the most legitimate way to earn the respect of others. Number 2, always seeking approval. Seneca famously remarked that it is not the man who has too little, but the man who craves more, that is poor. This statement indicates that material wealth is not the only thing that makes a person rich. Rather, it is also important to be content with what one has. Respect is subject to the same rules. When you are always trying to get people to approve of you, you diminish your own sense of self-worth. Each nod, each remark, and every bit of validation that you receive turn into a substance that you cannot survive without. This practice communicates to other people that you hold their opinions in higher regard than you do your own principles. Furthermore, if you depend on other people to determine your value, you effectively place yourself in a position that is subordinate to them. Whether or if the crowd applauds, people who are respected will continue to pursue their path. Although they may enjoy receiving acclaim, they never ask for it. You relinquish your authority, and thus your respect when you attempt to gain approval. Slavery is exactly what one is doing when they are always trying to get others to approve of them. Epictetus was direct in his assertion: if you wish to be loved, you must first love yourself. You have effectively relinquished your freedom to other people when you allow your identity to be determined by the opinions that they hold about you. You have abandoned the practice of living by principle and have instead adopted the practice of living by applause. Individuals who are desperate for acceptance are under the impression that they are gaining favor, but in reality, they are losing respect. What is the reason? Due to the fact that respect is never shown to the individual who twists and bends themselves in order to please everyone around them. People of this kind may be appreciated for their convenience at best, but there is a significant distinction between loving someone and appreciating them. Those who remain resolute in the face of adversity, even if it means they must stand alone, are the only ones who deserve to be respected. Every day, Marcus Aurelius would say to himself, "I am constantly surprised by the fact that we all adore ourselves more than other people, yet we are more concerned with their opinions than with our own." Give that some thought. We are aware of the challenges that we face, the conflicts that we must overcome, and the values that we hold, but we throw all of that away as soon as someone so much as raises an eyebrow or fails to offer praise. That does not represent strength. That is a feigned sense of humility that is actually an attempt to conceal weakness. Think of a man who is always asking the question, "Was that okay? Are you happy with the work that I have done? Have I done it correctly?" In the beginning, others might reassure him, but as time goes on, they become weary of doing so. Their perception of confidence has changed to one of reliance, and reliance destroys whatever respect that might exist. Contrast that with the man who silently carries out his responsibilities, remains resolute in his decisions, and never pleads for recognition. Despite the fact that he is not well liked, he is someone that others cannot help but respect. The paradox of approval is the following: the more desperately you try to obtain it, the less likely you are to actually receive it. However, when you cease your pursuit and behave according to your principles, approval will come as a consequence of your actions. People who are well respected do not perform for the audience. Rather, they perform for their own conscience. They are aware, as the Stoics were, that the only audience that matters is the self, and that the only applause that is of any importance is the inner voice that says, "I lived with integrity today." Therefore, if you wish to be treated with respect, you must refrain from begging for compliments and acknowledgments of your worth. Quit spending your life only for the applause of the audience. When it comes to your life, follow your own path with determination and do not allow yourself to be swayed by the expectations of others. Number 3, breaking your word. Your word is your connection, and you should always honor it. If you shatter it, you will break yourself. Marcus Aurelius authored the following statement: "If it is not right, do not do it. If it is not true, do not say it. If you don't do what you say you will do, people will lose faith in you." Furthermore, it is impossible for respect to be present in the absence of trust. It's not difficult to commit to anything in the heat of the moment, to say yes when you really want to say no, or to promise more than you have the ability to deliver on. However, taking those shortcuts would eventually lead to long-term failure. Respect is developed by consistency. If someone follows through on their word, regardless of how little the commitment may be, they become a person whose words have significant influence. In a world that is full of empty promises, integrity shines like gold. You are surrendering a part of yourself when you make a promise to someone. It is not just a matter of failing other people when you break it. It is a matter of corrupting your own character. First, tell yourself what you want to be, and then do what you have to do to achieve that goal, advised Epictetus. To put it another way, the instant you make a commitment, you are essentially binding yourself, not to the other person, but to the integrity of your own spirit. People frequently make pledges without giving them much thought because they believe that words are inexpensive. However, words are never inexpensive. They serve as the basis upon which trust is constructed. When a man continually utters the phrase, "I will be there," but never actually makes an appearance, he ceases to exist in the minds of other people. The rest of the world has learned that he is not to be believed when he speaks, therefore no one takes him seriously. Once the words that you use are no longer seen to be valuable, the respect that people have for you will disappear along with them. When Seneca stated that a man is as unhappy as he has convinced himself he is, he was drawing attention to this very reality. Similarly, a guy can only be considered respectable to the extent that he has succeeded in convincing other people that he is worthy of such esteem. However, this conviction is not brought about by words, nor is it brought about by spectacular gestures. It is brought about by basic, persistent conduct. Even when it comes to the most trivial of situations, doing what you say you will do is a way of training other people to have faith in you. Trust is the foundation of respect. Consider the leaders, generals, and thinkers who have made their impact on the course of history. They were not remembered as a result of their promises. They were remembered as a result of their actions. Julius Caesar had the ability to inspire loyalty in his followers because they knew that when he spoke, he would follow through on his promises. Marcus Aurelius was held in high regard, not just for his position as emperor, but also for the fact that he put his values into practice on a daily basis. On the other hand, failing to keep your word is like a sluggish poison that takes a long time to kill you. At first, people might be willing to forgive you. It is possible that they will even accept the excuses that you provide to them. However, as time goes on, each unfulfilled promise gradually erodes the foundation of confidence until there is nothing left. After that, even when you are telling the truth, no one will believe what you say. In a society where the only people who are granted respect are those who honor their word, your voice becomes as insubstantial as air, disappearing into the void. Integrity is like a flame in the darkness during a time when making promises that are never kept is the standard. Be the person who fulfills every pledge they make and whose word is as good as a contract. Make sure to let other people know that when you talk, they may rely on your words as if they were carved in stone. Respect is not formed in spectacular words. Rather, it is forged in little consistent acts of fulfilling your promise. Number 4. Letting emotions control you. Anyone who has the ability to make you feel angry becomes your master, Epictetus said. He is only able to make you feel that way if you allow yourself to be bothered by him. However, there are still a lot of people who let their emotions dictate their actions. They have a tendency to react with fury, to complain incessantly, or to fall to pieces at the slightest provocation. Other people look at them in a negative way due to this inability to regulate themselves, considering them to be weak, unstable, and unpredictable. It is not an innate quality of being unshakable that earns you respect. It is the result of practicing self-control and maintaining a serene demeanor even when the world is trying to get a rise out of you. Consider two guys who are engaged in a disagreement. One of them becomes enraged and begins to shout and rant, while the other one maintains his composure and remains calm and in control of himself. Which people will earn the respect of others? He is the one who never fails to maintain his composure. Restraint, not explosion, is what is used to determine the level of strength. Feelings such as anger, fear, and envy are all part of the human experience, but when they are not controlled, they may become like chains that hold you captive. It is your mind, not external events, that you have control over. Marcus Aurelius would tell himself every day as a reminder. If you accept this as true, you will discover that you are strong. The majority of individuals do the opposite of this. They give up control of their own thoughts and allow every insult, every disappointment, and every difficulty that comes their way to affect them. By doing so, they give up their right to be respected. A man who is unable to control his emotions is also unable to control his life. He will never earn their regard, while it is possible that they will feel sorry for him. Respect is earned through stability, which is the type of inner balance that makes it possible for other people to rely on you when difficult situations happen. Should you find yourself unable to withstand pressure, or should you explode at every opportunity, others will learn to avoid depending on you. They perceive a lack of strength rather than leadership. Anger is a temporary madness, stated Seneca, who was a prolific author on the subject of rage. He emphasized that when a man is filled with rage, he loses sight of reason and becomes no better than an animal. Consider that image. A guy who was degraded to the level of an animal solely because he was unable to control himself. Is it surprising that a man like this loses respect? Reason is the essential element that sets us apart from the chaos of the natural world. It is the very thing that we abandon when we lose control. Stoicism was not about suppressing emotions, but about learning how to control them. Suppression is a sign of weakness that presents itself as something else. It continues to build up pressure until it reaches a breaking point. Nonetheless, strength is mastery. It is the capacity to sense the feeling as it begins to build up, to acknowledge it, and yet to refrain from allowing it to dictate one's actions. You convey a message that is more powerful than any words when you maintain a cool head while you are being insulted, when you remain composed when you are being attacked. You are invulnerable to harm. Imagine that there are two men engaged in a heated discussion. One of them smacks his hand down, his voice shaking with wrath, in a desperate attempt to establish dominance by sheer volume. The other person speaks in a calm manner, maintaining a consistent tone of voice, and an expressionless face. Which person is in control of the room? Not the one who is loud, but the one who is peaceful. Because it indicates that a person has authority, respect is conferred upon the individual who is able to exercise self-control. There are many individuals in the world who are enslaved by their impulsive nature. However, it is the person who makes an effort to train themselves to take a moment to breathe and to respond with logic rather than with an emotional reaction who will be respected, followed, and trusted by others. If someone else is able to control your fury, then that person has power over you, as Epictetus cautioned. However, if you are able to dominate your own self, no one will ever be able to exercise that power over you again in the future. Number 5. Gossiping about others. Seneca advised people to refrain from squandering their time on inconsequential conversations, declaring, "Surround yourself with people who will encourage you to become a better person." Gossip has the opposite effect. It taints your reputation and sends the message to other people that you are not someone who can be relied upon. If you make disparaging remarks about other people, the people who are listening will presume that you will do the same to them. Those who have no power use gossip as a weapon. It exposes a sense of envy, a lack of confidence, and a lack of generosity. Those who are held in high regard do not waste their time tearing down others. Instead, they confront problems directly or choose to remain silent. The tongue has the ability to either elevate you or destroy you. Nothing can erode respect more quickly than being recognized as the person who spreads malicious gossip behind closed doors. Gossip is nothing more than a cowardly attempt to exert influence over others. It is a discourse that is actually meant to conceal a lack of strength. Be willing to be perceived as foolish and unintelligent if you wish to make progress, Epictetus advised his students. What was he trying to say? It is not by stooping to the level of pointless conversation that one achieves dignity, but rather by rising above such things, even while other people are trying to entice you to participate. In addition to betraying the person about whom you are gossiping, you are also betraying yourself when you engage in gossip. You demonstrate that you are concerned with issues of little importance rather than more significant ones. You do not have the guts to confront someone face to face, so instead you attack them from behind, where you may hide in the shadows. Such behavior does not earn respect, it garners distrust instead. Those who are listening could grin, but internally they consider you to be someone who cannot be trusted. According to Seneca, life is too brief to spend it on things that do not help us grow as people. He strongly encouraged men to concentrate their efforts on wisdom, virtue, and self-mastery. On the other hand, gossip has the effect of drawing the spirit into a state of triviality. It prevents you from growing any farther. The more you talk about other people, the less substance you reveal about yourself. Additionally, people are quick to pick up on the distinction between individuals who discuss concepts and values and those who discuss the lives of other people. When he sat down for his daily sessions of meditation, Marcus Aurelius brought this same way of thinking with him. He frequently reminded himself that he should not bother his soul with the faults of other people, and that he should instead focus on examining his own shortcomings and working to correct them. We are so preoccupied with the mistakes that other people make that we are unable to see our own shortcomings. This is because gossip diverts our attention from our own flaws. Nevertheless, the esteemed individual channels that very energy in order to exercise self-control, enhance his own character, and conduct his life in a manner that sets an example for others. Consider two individuals who work together. One whispers about which person has made an error, which person is favored by the manager, or which person is not doing their fair share of the work. Rather than wasting time on hearsay, The other concentrates on the tasks that are assigned to him, conducts himself with honor, and only speaks when it is essential to do so. Which of the two will people hold in higher regard? He is the one who always makes sure that he does not say anything inappropriate and that his conscience is clear. It doesn't take much effort to spread rumors. It is difficult to exercise self-control. On the other hand, respect is reserved for those who chose the more difficult path. Each and every time that you abstain from succumbing to the temptation to say something negative about another person, you fortify your own moral fiber. Your authority becomes more powerful each time you refrain from speaking. Ultimately, the way you presented yourself in the light is what people will remember. They will not remember what you murmured in the darkness. Number 6. Neglecting your appearance and demeanor. Marcus Aurelius is the author of the quote, "Make sure your actions are worthy of your reputation." Actions encompass the manner in which you conduct yourself, as well as the way you show yourself to others. Respect is not solely about inner strength. It is also about how you handle yourself in the outside. If you don't take care of your appearance, slouch, and present yourself with a lack of concern, you are communicating one thing. You do not have respect for yourself. Furthermore, if you do not hold yourself in high regard, why would any other person hold you in high regard? This is not about vanity or fancy clothing. It is about self-discipline. The outward appearances of cleanliness, posture, grooming, and calmness are all manifestations of the internal order of an individual. Even before he says a single word, a man who is disciplined is able to command the attention of everyone around him. His presence alone commands that he be treated with respect. Although the Stoics never advocated for vanity, they were aware of the significance of presence. Everywhere means nowhere, Seneca once penned. When someone devotes all of their time to traveling in other countries, they will eventually end up with a large number of acquaintances, but they will not have any friends. If you replace travel with appearance in this context, the moral of the story becomes clear. You will not be able to find a place where you belong if you do not take care of your appearance, and if you do not pay attention to the way you conduct yourself in the world. You forfeit the respect that comes automatically with order and composure. It is not an act of humility to disregard your physical appearance. It is a sign of disorganization. It is a way of communicating to the world that you do not have the ability to control yourself. Marcus Aurelius was responsible for the well-being of an entire empire, and yet he reminded himself on a daily basis to stand tall, to carry himself with dignity, and to embrace the responsibility that had been bestowed upon him. He was aware that posture, temperament, and presence are all quiet messages that indicate strength, and this was the reason he paid attention to these things, rather than out of a desire for vanity. Even before he says a single word, a man communicates weakness when he walks around with a slouch, drags his feet, or carries himself without regard for his appearance. In the eyes of the world, he is seen as someone who does not hold himself in high regard. Moreover, if he does not hold himself in high regard, why should anybody else? The individual who seems to be vanquished by his own reflection will never be afforded any respect. Compare this with a man who is diligent about taking care of the fundamentals. His grooming is impeccable, his clothing are immaculate, his posture is erect, his handshake is strong, and his gaze is unwavering. His discipline speaks more loudly than gold or silk ever could. Thus, he does not need luxury to be admired. He is respected because of his discipline, not because of his material wealth. People take notice of him, not because he is ostentatious, but because he exudes a sense of order. And order is something that commands respect. First, figure out who you are, and then dress yourself in a manner that is appropriate, was the advice of Epictetus. This is not an encouragement to be vain, Rather, it is an invitation to find alignment, to allow the outward appearance to represent the inner self. If you are physically powerful, make sure that your position reflects that. If you are disciplined, make sure your look reflects that fact. As soon as the interior and exterior aspects are in agreement, people immediately become aware of it. You transform into an individual who commands respect from others simply by being present, because your mere presence communicates the message that I respect myself, and therefore you will respect me. People have already begun assessing you before you even utter a single word in any setting. They are evaluating the way that you conduct yourself, including the manner in which you carry your shoulders and how you make eye contact with them. In that quiet moment, respect frequently has its beginnings. Additionally, those who fail to pay attention to it are defeated before they even get a chance to say anything. Number 7. Being afraid to stand firm. Epictetus stated, "If you want to improve, you must be willing to accept that people will think of you as foolish and stupid." To put it another way, you have to be prepared to remain steadfast in your convictions, even when other people make fun of you or disagree with you. However, there are an excessive number of people who buckle under pressure because they are desperate to avoid conflict or rejection. Respect is completely undermined by this lack of courage. You become a leaf that is tossed around by every breeze when you refuse to take a stand for the things you believe in. Individuals could find you likable because you are accommodating, but they will never have any regard for you. Respect is born out of conviction. It is earned when you are able to say no and mean it. And it is earned when you are able to maintain your position even while you are being criticized. It is not through obedience, but rather through bravery that authority is born. Every day, Marcus Aurelius would remind himself that there would be other people who would oppose him, attack him, or question him. But he made up his mind that he would continue to uphold his principles. If it is not right, do not do it. If it is not true, do not say it. His guideline was straightforward. Do what is right rather than what is expedient. That is the reason that, even after centuries have passed, his words are still recalled with a sense of deep respect, whilst the flatterers and cowards who were his contemporaries have been forgotten about a long time ago. In the end, the individual who does everything he can to avoid conflict becomes a prisoner of the expectations of other people. He makes a sacrifice of his own sense of self-respect in order to gain approval that is fleeting at best. On the other side, the one who maintains their ground becomes completely unshakable. People will always have respect for him, even if they do not always see eye to eye with him, because having a strong will is much more uncommon and far more powerful than being charming. Seneca said it in a straightforward manner. What is required is not a large quantity of words, but words that are effective. When a guy is respected, he does not have to engage in constant arguments in order to demonstrate that he is correct. There is no need for him to shout or make threats. He simply maintains his position in a calm and decisive manner, and the strength of his conviction is felt by all around him. You should never be afraid of being misunderstood, criticized, or even disliked. Instead, you should be afraid of being invisible, because you never had the bravery to speak up for anything. Respect is the basis upon which influence, leadership, and long-term impact are built. It is not the type of thing that you would ask for, and it is not the type of thing that you would beg for. It is something that you experience in your life. Your daily habits either help to build it up or tear it down. The silent assassins of your reputation include the following: gossiping, failing to take care of yourself, refusing to take a hard stance, losing control, breaking your word, seeking approval, and talking too much. Your demeanor will start to change as soon as you stop engaging in these habits. When you talk, People will pay attention to what you have to say. They will give you their whole attention and respect. They will regard you like someone whose words, deeds, and life are all of significance. Respect is not something that is given. It is something that must be demanded. Furthermore, when you make sure that your acts are in accordance with Stoic wisdom, you will realize that respect comes organically and without you ever having to request it.